Morning, family. It's Tasha Mom Bear Prepping. You already know what time it is. Get your drink, pull up. Let's talk about it. So today I want to talk about, really this is going to be a very, very short video. I'm just going to recap or talk again a little bit about the eye drops, right? So back, I think it was last month, I brought it to your guys' attention. We were discussing how there was a recall on eye drops, artificial tears. This was a concern for me because I knew we had just had Pops here and he had artificial tears on a daily basis. And so, I looked into it. I like to track infectious diseases, viruses, different infections, even smaller level things that happen, just so I'm kind of in the know of what's happening around the country, what's happening around the world, in case something gets much bigger. So last month we talked about these eye drops that are being recalled. It was a company that was outfitted out of India. And they pulled their products, and it was kind of serious. There was about 50 or 60 people that were that had gotten this eye infection. A handful of people had actually gone blind in at least one eye. And there was actually a death. Somebody had died. Now, I went and looked when I saw this article today. I did go back to see if there was any updates to those numbers. That 50 to 60 is still hovering. It's more in the 60s, 70s now, but it's died down, right? I didn't see any more reported deaths or anything. And again, a handful of people that went blind. And that stuff was recalled. That was about a month ago. And what's crazy is at the time that I talked about that, I was upset because CDC and them had been tracking it since summer, since like June, right? And so there was talks of between January and June of last year of 22 that they were tracking all this. And it wasn't until February that they really came out and recalled and was talking about it. Now, did that video, saw some articles a couple days ago start popping up and generating about more eye drops. So took a minute to go back, take a look at those today because they're popping up again in today's feed. So I said, okay, let me take a look at this. So basically it's some more recalls, more eye drops, and a couple more companies. So these companies are not overseas. So that's something to take note of. And one of them is kind of a basic recall, and one of them is another, possibly something inside of the product, right? So the next one is Pharmadica or Pharmadica, something like that. Pharmadica, okay, is what I'm going to call it. That company is actually based out of Arizona, and they've recalled a couple lots of eye drops. They actually recalled 2 lots of the Purely Soothing 15% MSM drops. If you go and Google any of this, eye drops, recent eye drops, recalls, you're going to get a ton of articles, and you're going to get a ton of lists of the actual names that I'm slaughtering and the reasons why they're being recalled. If you really need to go through your preps and do this stuff, I think that if we start moving towards holistic type options, you're going to have less and less of this, because I don't know about you, but I've been talking about how we're kind of revamping how we're doing preps all of a sudden in this home, right? It was always stockpile, stockpile, stockpile. And we're still doing that, but we're changing our view to our level of preservation, right? We're doing holistic options. We're doing more whole ingredient stockpiling of food, right? Instead of, food that is pre-made, pre-done for you, has additives, has all this extra stuff, very, very convenient, but not necessarily good for you. And so our family is kind of trying to move away from that in different varying levels, right? And just what makes sense for the future and for our wallets and for our health and for all of that stuff. And so it would behoove you, because more stuff like this could happen. This pertains to also over-the-counter stuff and different things that you're putting on your skin, ingesting, whatever, okay? So some things to think about overall as you move forward with your medical preparedness and, going through stuff when you hear stuff like this. Now, the other company that has recalls is called Apotex. And they actually, this is less concerning because they actually recalled 6 lots, so more lots, and it's a glaucoma, some sort of eye drop for a glaucoma, right? And but they recalled for the caps. I guess the caps had a bunch of not tears but cracks, and so they recalled the 6 lots. Now, is it suspicious that it just happens to be like there's just all this eye drop issues, right? Whether it's stuff in it, whether it's the bottle it's put into. It's a little weird. I do not like coincidences. I do not like having a lot of different stuff. Again, I do feel like we're in the stage of reactiveness where we think we're big and bad and something is happening and then we're reacting. It's the same thing with the balloon. We reacted, then all of a sudden we're shooting stuff down out of the sky. These these train derailments, different things happening. All of a sudden they're all over the news, and maybe to a level some of that stuff was already happening, but because we're starting to track it, there's social media, it's everywhere. It is everywhere, right? And they are still happening. I mean, there was a train derailment, I don't think yesterday, but the day before in Virginia. I mean, they're still happening with diesel that fell into the train, hit some rock formations, toppled over into this river that it was going next to, right? And there's diesel all falling into that river now, right? So I don't like these coincidences, but I think part of it is, we're reactive. And same thing, like, not a big problem, not a lot of, eyesight on what's going on, overview of these eye drops. It happens. And now there's a lot more overview. There's a lot more companies looking at their products if they do have anything to do with eye drops, and just ensuring. And what's happening is with them going back through and looking at stuff, I think they're catching stuff, right? I'm not going to say that company wouldn't have caught the caps, in general, but I just think that when something catastrophic happens, something bad happens, a company takes a look at that. It's like safety, right? Maybe safety is not taken that serious until something happens, somebody dies, then all of a sudden safety is like, we got to do safety. Safety. Okay. So it's the same idea. It's this reactive world that we live in. And for us, we just want to keep track of it. We want to make sure we're paying attention. This other company that recalled because of the caps is actually out of Canada. So again, just nothing to be alarmed about. It's just pay attention, continue to pay attention to these coincidences, the things that are the same. Recalls in general, I don't even care. I'm just going to keep it 100. I do not care about recalls anymore. There used to be a time where I really, really cared about recalls. Like, I was like, man, we got to go through the preps. We got to go through this. We got to go through that. And I'm just over it. They recall for the littlest things. It could be recalls can happen because, like this, it was a cap or a dent in a bottle or a dent in a can, or, something happens, somebody reports something, a sickness, something happens, and they do an investigation and they think that it went back to something, and it ends up, it could not maybe be that thing. I just don't like it. I have a lot of rabbit hole theories of why these recalls are happening and the way that they're happening and in the amount that they're happening, right? Again, maybe that's something we'll talk about on Patreon. Matter of fact, I'm going to make a note. Maybe I could do a video over there in the next couple of weeks on this. But just stay vigilant. Continue to see do your research, pay attention, stay on top of stuff, understand what's happening, and you'll be fine. There's no reason to lose your mind today. And but hey, if you are one that stockpiles a ton of eye drops, right? I would just go in there and venture and just peruse in there and see at a minimum if you have any of these purely soothing 15% MSM drops, right? And then continue to do some research. You can do some research to see exactly what was wrong, if it's the same issue that was wrong with the companies, the Ezra companies, under that India company, right? And just do your own due diligence. And then if you don't have this, but maybe you wanted to boost this area of your preps, it's making you realize, oh, you needed to have more stuff. Start, looking at your holistic options, a little bit cleaner options. Eye drops. We get a lot of the chamomile natural eye drops. We get a lot of just the basic eye wash solutions. That are very, very simple, do not have that much. They're not really for artificial tears. They're not really to lubricate. They're more of a flush, an eye flush to get something out of your eye. That's more of what we carry. And then the chamomile really is not really to flush. It's also to flush, but it's to help so that if there is some sort of you have an eye infection, you have a sty, you have something where you're just trying to keep your eye as medically as stout as it can, having something that's holistic that can help with the healing or whatever the case may be. So anyway, I hope you guys are well. It is about to be the weekend. It is Friday. Super, super excited. I'm glad you guys are here in the premiere. You know, typically this is not necessarily a topic we would do for premiere, but hopefully you guys are giving your 2 cents in the chat on everything that we've discussed today. I enjoy myself being able to do these videos ahead of time and then be able to chat with you. So I've enjoyed chatting with you today. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. Again, I said it would be short. It is. And I'll see you guys tomorrow on the next video. Take care. Bye.